Well, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to the Pandemic Survival Guide for Residential Contractors. Gosh, I kind of feel like we haven't
survived. That means something, right?
What was that, Paul?
We've all survived, right?
We have all survived. That's true. So I guess it's working, right? We have
Right.
all survived.
We are surviving.
Nobody has died during this entire process, so I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're doing what we're supposed to be, right? So anyway, I want to start by thanking David for handling the last webinar by himself. I was in Cleveland, and Paul was in the process of coming back from Finland, and I'm now back in San Diego. And Paul, you're under quarantine in Hawaii, aren't you?
Right. You got 3 more days of quarantine in Hawaii, and then I'm free. Yep.
And what's the penalty if you were to leave your house and be caught like shopping?
Something, it's $5,000 in a year in jail.
Wow.
I would stay in your place. I would do just what you're doing, Paul.
I'm not I'm right on the ocean.
Exactly.
Pools, hot tubs, tennis. I'm good. You know, where I live, it's fine. It's like a resort. So I'm good.
So I also can't believe this is our 17th webinar. 17th. We started this back in March, so that's pretty great too. So, all right. Well, looks like I see a lot of familiar names here on our attendees list. But for those of you that don't know us, my name is Ed Earl. As I said, I'm in San Diego. I have a construction project management business that I run here, and I'm also a business coach with these 2 gentlemen that are on the webinar with me. So, and I've been construction project for about 20 years, and construction for 30 years. Got an MBA from Stanford, and have been coaching with Paul and David here for, I don't know, 7-8 years. So I'm the young guy here on the team as far as coaching experience. So, Paul, how about you, Paul?
Well, I've been doing this for 35 years, which I know I don't look it, but I've been coaching for 35 years, and I'm live in Hawaii, and I'm skip Palm Springs. I have a house in Palm Springs. I've skipped that one for now, and in Hawaii, and I've worked with, I don't know, pick a number, 200 or 300 contractors over the last 35 years, and I'm always interested in helping people out, and this is a really exciting time. I mean, we've never been here before, so I find this really sort of fun, actually, because it's all new and different.
Should I pick it up now here, Paul?
You go for it.
All right.
Well, I have a master's in education from unfamous Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
You're still a step ahead of me. I was going to say retired contractor, but in all honesty, does any contractor ever retire? Or do we just kind of, take the tool belt off? So, I've been in the industry like Paul and Ed, and I wouldn't have done anything different. Great people. Every day is different. The creative element, and yes, there's a certain amount of uncertainty, but I can say with all honesty, no day is the same. All right. Every day is different. And do co-coaching with these gentlemen and get to work with great contractors all over the country.
Awesome. All right. Well, for those of you that haven't joined the webinar before, the purpose of this really is to help keep you up to date with the latest and greatest and what's going on. We have literally gotten our clients and webinar attendees hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in aid through the various aid programs. We're going to give a little bit of an update on that today, as well as giving a lot of advice. We talk to about over 50 contractors nationwide every week, and we're getting a lot of great input and advice from them, and we're going to share some of that on our webinar here today as well. So as I like to do, I'm going to start off with a little bit of humor. This actually comes courtesy of David. I don't know, was this from David sent to me? So the question, right, to Alexa, what's the weather like this weekend, especially here on Labor Day weekend? Alexa replies, well, it doesn't matter. You ain't going anywhere anyway, right? All right, I like this one. Everyone, please be careful tonight. There's a DUI checkpoint on the corner of the hallway and the kitchen. Be safe. Paul, right. I think that particularly applies to you and Lisa, right?
I'm not leaving the deck, and I shouldn't fall in the pool. That's true.
And then this one's kind of cute too. And just like that, having a mask, rubber gloves, duct tape, plastic sheeting, and a rope in your trunk is okay.
And probably even a gun these days, it all adds up. Right?
Yeah. Right, exactly. So, all right, well, let's move on to give you a little update on the Paycheck Protection Program. As you probably know, the application period has expired as of August 8th. And so that window has gone away. Interestingly, approximately $130 billion went unused in the program. There was still $130 billion left when they closed it on August 8th. So the program did issue $521 billion in coronavirus relief loans to over 5 million small businesses. So it definitely had an impact. But a survey, I think I found this in USA Today, they said that 80% of small business owners who got one PPP loan said they'd like to get a second one. And 44% of the small business owners overall said they'd be unable to survive another 6 months without additional funding. So I really believe that we're going to see some additional funding, either a second round of PPP or something else. Unfortunately, with all the other stuff going on in Washington, it's kind of taken a back seat. And so they proposed all the way back in June, almost 3 months ago, they proposed this prioritized Paycheck Protection Program, which would have allowed borrowers to apply for a second round, but that hasn't happened yet. As far as on the forgiveness side of things, they also haven't made any decisions. This is an update that I just received from my bank, who I got my PPP loan through, the Bank of Southern California, and their update. And they said, the legislation is pending that will impact the PPP borrowers of 150,000 or under. And basically what it's going to be is a simple one-page attestation, if I'm saying that word right. Basically, you're just going to attest and say, look, I certify that I used all of these funds in the proper way to pay for payroll, and I didn't decrease or reduce my staffing level. And that's it. You sign it, date it, and that's it. No request for payroll receipts or anything like that. So if you have a loan under 150,000, our strong recommendation is just wait. Just wait, because I really believe that will happen. So now, and as they said on here, some people, they want to apply. If for whatever reason, it helped you sleep better at night, if you could get that forgiveness now, or possibly maybe if you're applying for another loan and you want to get that off your balance sheet, then you can actually, at least with this bank, and I'm sure with all the other ones, you can contact them, you can complete the full forgiveness process that's currently in place and go through the forgiveness process. So, all right, so let's move on to the EIDL loan. That is a loan that is still occurring. I actually just got my money 2 weeks ago. I was going to walk us through the application process, but I feel like probably most of you have already either applied or gone through it. But this is an interesting response I wanted to share with you. This is thanks to one of our clients, Jonathan, who wrote to them and wanted to know whether it was worth applying and what the money could be used for. So he wrote this long list of, can I use the funds for this and that, and this is what's on the screen now. So let me just kind of go through it. Can I pay my hourly payroll employees? Yes. So again, you can use it like you could with the PPP. Can I pay myself a monthly draw? That's interesting. Yes. Can I use it to pay off an existing truck loan? This is interesting. Not in full, but you can make monthly payments. So if you've got a leased truck or a loan on a truck, you can pay those loan payments. But don't make the last payment, because then that officially would be paying off the car. Can you use it to purchase a new work vehicle? No. So, but my question is, you probably could buy the vehicle and then get the loan and then use this to pay for the loan payments. Can I use it to purchase new tools? Again, like kind of playing with the system here. Only if you're replacing tools that are no longer useful, right? So one of your saws breaks down, you buy a new one. That's pretty hard to defend. I think you could pretty much use it for any kind of tools you want. Can I use it to purchase materials for client projects, right? Lumber, whatever you're doing? Yes. Can you use it to pay for lawyers and accountants? Yes. You can't use it for buying a building. We've actually had one of our clients that wanted to use it for buying a building or buying a lot. You can't use it for that. Can use it for continuing education costs. Use it for utilities and advertising, just like the PPP. You can use it for a company outing, which I thought was interesting, but only if it's in the normal course of business. Well, you could say we do, you know, quarterly employee barbecues or whatever. So this was interesting too. If you get, say, 150,000 and you only need 100, can you return the other 50? And he said yes. I don't know exactly how that's done. I actually reduced my loan amount down to 20,000 because I wanted to be under the collateralized loan amount. So, but I'm not sure how you can return some of that money. And do they still have the 10K? And they don't. So that first 10K of the EIDL, that was the one where they gave it, forgave it, and they don't have that anymore. So that's the quick, the rest of this email, it's actually like a 3-page email. And this SBA officer that responded was amazing. And if any of you have any more questions or you want us to send you the full email with this guy's contact information, if you have any other questions, just type it into the questions right now and we'll make a note of it and we'd be happy to send it to you at the end of the show. All right, so let's move on. I'm going to let Paul share this. This is Paul's wisdom of the week, which he has shared with many of our clients here. So Paul, you want to talk about this?
The question is, what have I learned after 35 years of dealing with contractors and dealing with all their problems? Every week, pretty much all we deal with is issues, problem this, and I've boiled it down to pretty much every problem that a contractor has deals either with the employee wasn't doing their job right, or the subcontractor was doing the job right, or the client was asking for things to run reasonable. So it's either a problem with clients or a problem with employees. That's pretty much our subs. That's it. That's the source of all of your problems, right? And the good news is that you chose all of them, right? You picked every employee, you picked every subcontractor, and you picked every client. So you're 100% responsible for every problem you've got, right? That's the good news. The bad news, but you can make different choices, right? And that moves us on to another topic here, okay?
Right, right.
So
all right.
Go
ahead, Paul.
Well, I was saying that what I've noticed is that contractors spend the least amount of money on recruiting, which is finding good employees, or marketing, which is finding good clients. They spend all their time and energy on building stuff, which has got to be the easiest part. So if you're looking at your resources, I would look at reallocating a considerable amount to recruiting so you can make sure you've got great people, and to marketing so you can make sure you've got great clients. Because you have great clients and you have great people, you've got no problem. Can pretty much guarantee that every time you hired an employee that you shouldn't have, in your gut, you knew it was a bad idea. Like they say in Star Trek, I have a bad feeling about this, right? Or when you took on a client you shouldn't have, you have the same thing, I have a bad feeling about this. But you took on the client, or you took on the employee because you didn't have enough choices, you didn't spend the resources to get the choices, and so you took what was there. So
can I add something to this?
Huh?
I just want to add something to that, but I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Well, it's just the idea, and I've mentioned this to several contractors, you know, I was doing this myself, and I say somewhat jokingly, it took me 15 years to learn how to say no. And the idea that we are working with clients, we're in a service-based business, and the idea of telling a client no, it just takes time because you develop a thick skin and you finally realize this client's nuts. But it takes time to really say, I don't need to do this. So, you know, you can do, your gut feeling, Paul, was dead on, which is, you know, when they're not the right client. To that same degree, you've got a good sense, oftentimes, if they're not a good employee. And if I can just add to our handouts, you both know, I wrote a simple book called Managing the Emotional Homeowner, and I'm happy to send anybody a digital edition to the book. Put it in the chat box and we can send that to you also, because we do manage this, we do control this. And your comment, Paul, dead on. It's either bad clients or bad employees. We eliminate that, guess what? It's a pretty good profession.
And I have an analogy, and that is, when you're in the desert and you run out of water, it is not the desert's fault, right?
Yep.
So
yep, indeed.
If you don't have good employees or you don't have good clients, it's your fault because you haven't spent the resources to find either. So.
All right, so that's our wisdom of the week. So let's move on now and talk about our topic for this week. For those of you that got our email, uncertainty is the new normal, isn't it, David?
I'm giving in to that sentence. It took me 17 weeks.
Are we adapting to the new normal, Ed? Is that where we're
I
going?
am finally
Yeah, exactly.
personally confessing that David is right. There is a new normal. Only took me 17 weeks. Yeah. So I'm now willing to talk about the new normal, which I think didn't exist until last week. So that's progress, right?
Right. And now that we've accepted that, right, the bottom line here is don't make promises that you can't keep, right? So let's talk about the rules of uncertainty, right? So the first rule is, Paul, I'll let you take this one.
Well, I mean, we have, as you know, our habits are controlled by, neurons that fire in our brain, and what fires together stays together. And so we have habits. We run 99% of our life on habits, right? And one of the habits in the old days as a contractor is you would try to have a budget and a timeline that you would keep, right? And so we all have these grooves in our brain that say, well, a good contractor stays on budget and on time. Well, those are out the window, because there is no on budget and on time. Because I'm going to give you the story of my hot tub. Real short form was, I went to order a hot tub. They said it would take 5 or 6 months. I said, that's crazy. I ordered from Costco, and they said, well, I got the order through. I couldn't get it. I couldn't get confirmation. So I finally called the supplier, spent 2.5 hours on hold, got through the supplier. Supplier said, when'd you order? I said, August. He said, hey, we're going to get it to you by January. I said, are you kidding me? He goes, look, if we get it to you in 6-8 months, consider yourself a success, because our competitors are taking 2 years to deliver a hot tub. So changed my whole view about hot tubs, right? And that could happen with lumber. It could happen with plumbing fixtures. It could just have to happen with hot tubs so far. And then he added, if they shut us down, it might be 3 years before you get one. It didn't even fit in my brain, 2 years to get a hot tub. But we are hearing from, the reality is certainty is the thing of the past. And we don't know. Biden could shut the country down. Trump could have a resolution, not get reelected. I don't care what side you're on politically. We don't know what the heck's going to happen. There is no certainty in the world anymore. We could be in a giant recession. We could be in a giant boom. So the first person you have to convince, like anything, is yourself. You got to say, okay, I used to, on budget and on time, used to actually be something I could say. It's now out of my vocabulary. Welcome to the new normal.
Exactly. And step 2, after you convince yourself, is convincing your clients and your subs, right? So again, you have to accept it yourself, believe it in yourself. The problem is that you don't work in a vacuum, and other people around you same way, right? You have to realize that everyone has to change their responses in this uncertain world.
And we had a client.
So, all right.
Interesting point. Ask one of the attorneys asked for from a contract. It was hysterical. Yeah.
So that's actually, I'm going to get to that in a minute. And I actually see Brendan is on this call. So we're going to use Brendan's example here in a minute. So, all right. So here's the question, right? If the only constant is change, how do we as builders make plans for the future? It's almost impossible. And we just have to recognize this. I'm sure many of you on the call know what's been happening to lumber prices, right? Look at this chart. Lumber prices are crazy, absolutely crazy. So this red line here, this is 2020. So you can see that we had a little bit of a blip. You can see all the previous years, they kind of go up and down a little bit. But here is our red mark. Our red has gone through here. This is through 29 weeks. So it's gone beyond here now. It's just through the roof. We're over $525 for the cost of, I'm not sure what this is, what the scale is, but we've gone from $350 back in probably February to $525. So for those of you that did a job back in March, and now you're having to buy the lumber at, almost twice what was you probably planned for, you just realize that there's no way to be able to deal with this. So that brings us to our third step, which is once you've convinced yourself and you've convinced your clients and your subs, you have to plan for the uncertainty and adapt your business practices. So let's talk about 3 different ways that you can adapt. The first is change to cost plus projects. You know, it's just so hard to be able to commit to a price, like Paul was saying. And so whenever possible, consider trying to change to a cost plus project. Now, this is going to take convincing your clients of this as well. But if they've been living in reality for the last 6 months, they know that it's not just lumber prices, it's everything, right? So number 2 is don't commit to a fixed completion date or penalties. So this is where the story with Brennan comes in. Brennan just is in a proposal to build a house actually for an ex-football player. And so, you know, like all good ex-pro athletes, he's got his bank of attorneys. He has the attorney review Brennan's contract, and the guy comes back and says, well, I'm good with everything, but, you know, we need to have a hard, fast completion date with liquidated damages clauses. And we told Brennan this week, like, what rock is this attorney living under? Like, there is no way you can agree to that. There's no way that you can say you can have it completed by this day, right? Like Paul said, I mean, there's so many uncertainties there. It's just crazy. So,
and there's another alternative on the
yeah.
first one.
I'm going to bring up a point. So Derek has posted a nice note, and he said the problem is with the uncertainty. You tell a client it's going to take 2 months, but a competitor tells them it'll take 1 month. They get the job because they hear what they want to hear, and then and then the contractor tells the client there's a delay. So to me, you know, this falls into transparency. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, no, I have the same question the other day. One strategy for getting work is to tell the client what they want to hear, lie, and then change order up to what it's really going to cost. It's a very prevalent business model in the construction field, and it works.
On the commercial side, especially. Yeah.
And so, you know, if you want to, if a client wants to choose somebody who's going to tell them what they want to hear and change order up to what it's going to cost, that's their choice. That's a business model they can participate in if they want to. You can't stop them. But the alternative is you could actually tell the client the truth, which, what a great concept. If they don't want to deal with the truth, then they're probably the wrong client, because the truth is nobody knows what's going to happen. It is impossible to tell. Now, if these guys or competitors actually do sign those contracts, those are the ones going to go broke, because you can't do it. They won't finish the job. Because, you know, let alone lumber going up, what if you flat can't get a framing package for 2 months? They just don't have it. What's that going to look like? Now, another thing on change to time to cost plus, there's an alternative. If you're really stuck with, you know, fixed price, you just have to put an allowance in for everything, literally, and then deal with the allowances and say, okay, your allowance for lumber was, you know, $50,000. It's now going to be $100,000. You went over the allowance by 100%. Good luck with that. That's all. I don't recommend that, but if you have to fix price, if you don't include allowances, you're screwed, because no idea what's going to happen.
Right. And I think too, Paul, along your point, you know, the construction business has been booming, right? And so we've attracted a lot more competitors. People, you know, have been coming into the industry. I think this is really going to weed people out, those unscrupulous, dishonest contractors, not because we're going to see a downturn in business. I mean, we're still seeing lots of demand, but they're going to get caught in their lies and in their lack of planning because of them overcommitting to projects, either completion dates or pricing. So it may take a little bit of time, but I think those incompetent and dishonest contractors are going to get weeded out because of this uncertainty that we're experiencing now.
Although we've taken over jobs where the contractor just failed, got halfway through it, realized losing his butt, and said, "I'm out of here," and just left. And then we all knew it was going to come. And that's what will happen. The contractor's not going to be in business and lose money.
And a similar thinning out took place in 2008, 2009. For those of you who lived through this, is the marginal contractors, they went out of business. And the true business owners, all right, they stayed. And, you know, maybe with any downturn or any element like this, there is a thinning out, you know, and the cream rises to the top.
Well, and one thing is unique about this, we have literally never been here. I mean, You can take all the economic indicators, unemployment, foreclosures, all that kind of stuff, and in theory, according to the economic indicators, we shouldn't be in a severe recession. The stock market shouldn't be going through the roof. Prices of real estate shouldn't be going crazy. And the cost of construction shouldn't be going up crazy. And then the supply chains are all getting screwed up because there's no supply chains. So we've literally, and I've done this for 35 years, we've never been here. We've been through recessions before, but we've never been here, ever.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I was reading the paper this morning. I should have taken a screenshot of it. One article said, you know, great news, unemployment is down to 8.4%. And I'm thinking I mean, we are in the middle of the biggest economic shock in the history of our country. And we're only at 8.4% unemployment. I'm like, that's amazing. And then the article right next to it was, stock market crashes yesterday, you know, Tesla stock value drops by 20%. I mean, it's just wacky how things are just, you can't predict anything. So it's crazy. All right, well, let's move on to our third suggestion, which is add an escalation clause to your contract. Now, this is something that I found that the NAHB, National Association of Home Builders, has. And this is it. It's an escalation clause for specifying building materials. I've given you the link to it here, but if you want, we can, let's see, could I post that in the chat? I will see if I can do that in a minute, and then you guys could all get that. But yeah, I think I can do that.
Not like though, it says what the option is they get to bail, which I'm not sure is a good answer either, right? So you're halfway through the job. I don't think bailing is a good answer. I think you should be able just to charge your client because you don't want to quit in the middle. So that's the part of that escalation clause I do not like. It should be either, you know, you just have to pay up. We're done.
You know, this is a challenging time. I spoke with a spec home builder in Phoenix yesterday, and his realtor, they signed a contract for the house. There's the price. It's in the residential real estate contract. The home's not finished for 9 months. And he was saying, what do I do? The price of his lumber packages have doubled in the last 60 days.
Yeah.
Well, it's called SOL, right? I mean,
well, I said, I don't know what you do in the rearview mirror. They've already signed the contract. You've agreed. You're
done.
Yeah.
I mean, you're so our advice is don't do that anymore, but he can't do anything actually. He can try to, he can throw the sword and you know, there might be a clause in there. What's that clause called, Ed? The
force majeure.
Force majeure. That most contracts have that says, you know, if there's a meteor that hits the planet, or, you know, there's a revolution or whatever, some amazing event.
Acts of God. Yeah, acts of God, unanticipated acts of God. Yeah.
Actually, I think COVID qualifies as an act of God, doesn't it?
Well, some people think it's an act of the Chinese, but yes, I think it's an act of God. And most attorneys now, and I was listening to a podcast recently that's been challenged in a couple of courts, and most courts are upholding that the pandemic does qualify as an act of God.
So if he has a force majeure clause, he can bail on that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we're about at our 30-minute mark, which is when we like to wrap things up. So so that's it. I think, David, we've answered most of the questions. Are there any other questions that we didn't address?
Well, I've got a couple of people who would like the link to the EIDL discussion. And I had some people then ask for a link to the book. So once again, if anybody would like either the digital copy of Managing the Emotional Homeowner or that very in-depth EIDL loan requirements, it's really very, very well done. Please let us know.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was able to put that escalation clause from the NAHB in the chat box. So you guys should all be able to click on that, and that'll take you to that page for that escalation clause. So that's it. We will be back again 2 weeks from today and give you the latest and greatest on what's going on then. In the meantime, if you have any questions at all, here is our contact information, our personal cell phone numbers, and our emails. Please feel free to contact us at any time you want. and we'd be happy to help you in any way we can. And we hope you all stay safe, stay well, stay kind, and we will see you in 2 weeks on September 18th.
Have a great Labor Day weekend. Talk to you later.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.